Her name, the one her parents gave her, was Wong Liu Tong. It means frosted yellow willows. But Hollywood had a different name for her, a simpler one, easier to say, easier to sell. The letter arrives from MGM Studios on a Tuesday. She already knows what it says. Hollywood's most powerful studio has spent 2 years making the most expensive film of the decade, a sweeping epic set in China about Chinese farmers based on a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. The role of a lifetime, the role everyone assumed would go to her. She is the most famous Chinese-American actress in the world. She has shared the screen with Marlene Dietrich. She has sold out theaters from Los Angeles to London to Berlin. She has spent 15 years fighting for every frame. They gave the role to a German woman in yellow face paint. And then, because this is Hollywood and Hollywood has a particular kind of cruelty, they called her anyway. They had another role for her, the villain, the scheming prostitute, the only unsympathetic character in the film full of Chinese people, played by white actors. She picks up a pen, she writes back. You're asking me, with my Chinese blood, to do the only unsympathetic role in the picture featuring an all-American cast portraying Chinese characters. She sends the letter. She turns down the role, and then she does something nobody in Hollywood predicted. She disappears, not in defeat, in preparation. Her name is Anna May Wong, born in Los Angeles, 1 block from Chinatown, the daughter of a laundryman. At 11 years old, she decided she would become a movie star. At 17, she was one. And for the next 40 years, Hollywood made sure she paid for it. This is that story. January 1936, she boards a ship to China. She brings a 16mm camera, a Leica, and her father, not just as a career move, not to prove a point to MGM. She's going to find something she has never had, a place where she simply belongs. But first, understand what she's leaving behind. She grew up in LA, third-generation American. English was her first language. She had never set foot in China. And yet every role Hollywood gave her said the same thing. You're not one of us. The dragon lady, the scheming concubine, the submissive oriental. And when MGM finally made a film actually set in China, they hired a white woman to play a Chinese woman. Because the rules said Anna May Wong could not kiss a white man on screen, not even a white man playing a Chinese farmer. The Hays Code, Hollywood's own censorship rules, along with Hollywood's racial taboos, had decided what kind of woman she was allowed to be on screen. So she left. The ship docks in Shanghai. The press is waiting. The headlines don't say welcome home. Some even say traitor or disgrace. They list her roles one by one and ask, is this the woman who claims to represent us? She visits her father's ancestral village. She studies Peking opera. She learns Mandarin. She films everything with her own camera. Street scenes, markets, her father standing in front of the house where his family was born. And slowly something shifts. The same press that attacked her begins to change its tone. They see her trying. They see her learning. By the time she leaves 10 months later, some of them call her something they had never called her before, a daughter of China. She sails home to America with her footage, her cheapaos, and something she didn't have when she left. A reason to fight. Because while she was in China, something had happened. Tensions with Japan were escalating. Soon, full war would come. And Anna May Wong had just decided what she was going to do about it. While Anna May Wong was sailing home, Japan invaded. Shanghai fell in November 1937, then Nanjing. The relatives she had just filmed in the streets and markets, they were now living under occupation. Some of her closest family fled to Hong Kong. Hollywood didn't notice. Hollywood was still making films about dragon ladies. She noticed. She gave speeches, she organized fundraisers, she traveled to Australia, 12 weeks on stage in Melbourne and Sydney, and when the crowds came to see the Hollywood star, she sold them autographed photographs. Not to line her pockets, to buy an ambulance for China. She donated major portions of her film salaries from 2 films to United China Relief. She auctioned her own costumes. She trained as an air raid warden on American soil. She wrote articles. She gave interviews. She did everything a woman with a fading Hollywood career and no political power could do. And then she made a film that nobody talked about. It was called Lady from Chongqing, a low-budget wartime picture. On screen, she played a resistance leader living a double life, pretending to collaborate with the Japanese while secretly working against them, gathering intelligence, protecting her people. The critics ignored it. The studios forgot it. But look at what she was actually doing while the cameras weren't rolling. The speeches, the fundraisers, the ambulance bought with her own face, and ask yourself, where did the performance end and the life begin? Her own government had an answer. They opened a file on her. In the eyes of the FBI, a Chinese-American woman with connections to China who raised money for Chinese causes and traveled internationally was worth watching. It didn't matter that China was an American ally. It didn't matter which side of the war she was on. In wartime America, that combination was enough to attract attention. Every time Anna May Wong wanted to leave the United States, she had to prove she was American. Not with a passport, with a red card. The Chinese Exclusion Act, a law that had banned Chinese immigration since 1882 and treated every person of Chinese descent as a suspected foreigner, regardless of where they were born, required her to carry a certificate of identity, a red document that listed her name, age, height, occupation, and physical marks, like a criminal record, except she committed no crime. She was a third-generation American. English was her first language. She had never lived in China. She had just spent 2 years raising money to buy ambulances for a country at war. It didn't matter. The form was called Application of Alleged American Citizen of the Chinese Race. Alleged. As if her birth in LA needed to be verified. As if 40 years of life in America wasn't enough. She filled it out every time, without complaint, on record. And somewhere in a government building, an agent kept writing her name in a file. Hollywood had told her she was too Chinese to play Chinese. Now her own government was treating her like she was too Chinese to be an American. She was exhausted by the parts Hollywood kept giving her. She kept going anyway. The war ended. Hollywood didn't change. She kept working. B-movies, radio, television. Roles that were smaller than she deserved, in productions that were cheaper than she was worth. She drank heavily. She struggled with depression. The industry that had made her famous had quietly decided she was no longer useful. But in 1951, the first Asian American to ever do it, she got her own television show, The Gallery of Madame Liu Tong. She played a Chinese-American art dealer and detective, a role written specifically for her. Not a dragon lady, not a scheming concubine, not a submissive Oriental woman. Just a woman, smart, capable, in charge. Her real name, Wong Yu-Tong, in the title. For one of the first times in her career, the role resembled the woman playing it. It was cancelled after 10 episodes. But something had changed. In 1960, 55 years old, her body worn down by decades of fighting a system that was never designed for her, she received the star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The first Asian American woman to get one. She remained the only one for 59 years. She was still fighting. There was a new film coming, Flower Drum Song. the first major Hollywood production with an almost entirely Asian American cast. The kind of film she had spent 40 years proving Hollywood could make. She never made it. On February 3rd, 1961, Anna May Wong, Wong Liu-tsong, or Frosted Yellow Willows, died of a heart attack in her home in Santa Monica. She was 56 years old. She died the year before the film that might have finally given her what Hollywood always owed her. The system that defined her career remained in place after she was gone. For decades, the world largely forgot her. Then, in 2022, the United States government put her face on a quarter. The same government that made her prove she was American every time she crossed the border. The same country whose film industry and censorship codes decided what kind of woman she could be on screen. The same industry that gave a white actress in yellow face paint an Oscar for a role that should have gone to Anna May Wong. Her face on a currency. She would have had something to say about that. She always did.